just to respect, there we go about interrupting us. But all right. We'll get ourselves, a little, let's not interrupt anyone, but like kind of just raise our hands if you have any questions. I'm sure all of us will have a lot of questions. Another thing I would request is, since it's like a open door event where all of us join in, openly, let's drop in our LinkedIn IDs into the chat so that we all can stay connected, learn from each other. I think at the age of AI, learning from each other becomes a key skill. What's working for others often kind of turns out to be something that often helps us in our own, um, implementing our own strategies, our own motions, etc. Coming to a few housekeeping notes, this is a 45-minute webinar, although you might have seen that your calendars were blocked for 1 hour. We typically have, 45 minutes to talk, discuss, but we also stay around for the next.
Please, my.
Yeah, I would request everyone to keep themselves muted unless we like kind of open up. There will be times when we completely open up to the entire forum for any questions, etc. But yeah, as the housekeeping notes, it's a 45-minute webinar. We'll keep the last 10 minutes for questions after the 45 minutes as well. And we'll also have, AMAs in between so that we can leverage this session as much to learn from each other. A few more things. So this webinar is about using LinkedIn as a growth channel. Why this came up as a topic was because more and more people have been using LinkedIn as a cold outbound channel. But LinkedIn actually is much more than that. If our audience exists on LinkedIn, there is a ton more that can be done. That's why I also have Sachin here with me. Sachin is probably one of the first product marketeers from India. He's had more than 15 years of experience now, has worked in some of the top global cybersecurity firms as leading the product marketing firm. But I think Sachin's done much more than product marketing just. Recently, in fact, he was the one who showed me how he's been using automations on NREV to kind of build out really powerful playbooks. And one of the things was not even outbound. It's what he termed and coined as outbound based on inbound. Um, I think, Sachin, you call it inbound based outbound, right? Sorry, I kind of changed those two terms. But yeah, I think he's the best person to talk about this since he's done this over time now. This is specifically a playbook that he's been able to replicate across a lot of different companies. And one of the things that I mentioned, I think, in terms of outcomes also, and I'll show you some snippets of those outcomes, is that he typically gets like 30 plus, 40 plus calls or meetings per week based on just a few posts that he and his team does. Sachin, over to you to kind of introduce yourself. Sorry, one thing I missed was introducing myself and why we do this webinar. Sorry, guys. I'm Shayanto, the CEO and one of the co-founders of NREV. NREV is an automation builder platform specifically built for GTM automations. It's a natural language interface where you can go and chat and build your workflows out. I'll not kind of go into much of the details, but it's kind of like if Claude Code, N8N, and Clay had a child. That's how it's the easiest to visualize. But yeah, I'll kind of typically we have these experts who have gotten success and outcomes from some of the different types of motions that are working in the market today. And Sachin's one who has got tremendous success from his automations. So Sachin, over to you. Sorry, had to kind of step in and give my intro as well.
No, you have to give your intro. So this is like, yeah, the entire platform, right? So yeah, we call it inbound led outbound. That's how we kind of coined this entire thing in terms of mapping this. So, hey everyone, this is like super exciting times to at least talk about product marketing and LinkedIn. Just 1 second. I'm the founder and CEO at One GTM Lab. I run this with Megha and Jay here. We, along with our team, have been focused on completely inbound, right? So I kind of tell people that okay, you can now hack the algorithm. You can actually do multiple things, but this entire playbook of giving like quality content and turning this into like calls. This is something that we have been able to do it, as Santo had mentioned, that for our team first, and then we started replicating to the clients, right? Because even if you do product marketing, even if you do GTM engineering, even if you do anything right now, those are all in terms of the blind shootouts, right? So we need to understand that this entire playbook gets you more of warm leads. This entire thing gets you people who are already engaging with your thing, right? So once you start introducing your offering to them, it cannot become super helpful. Now, all along the conversation, I think Santa will be speaking about this entire problem solution and in like a structured way. But just to give you a overview. I kind of started one GTM lab because there was a problem. People were only doing strategy or execution. The leaders would come and do the strategy, but then who's going to execute the entire strategy, right? And or on the other side, there were people only doing execution, right? Where is the strategy? Where's the foundation? So we kind of started taking the product marketing approach to entire thing that we do, like either it's GTM engineering or LinkedIn. Even for LinkedIn, we create like buckets. You need to understand your ICPs, your audience, who you want to target, right? So it's going to be something that takes the concepts, like the foundation of the product marketing, and that's how we can actually move the entire game, whether it's any kind of automation, whether it's any kind of giving value to the audience, right? So yeah, that's about me, Santo. If you want, if you want to take it over and cover more on the
Yeah.
statements.
Thanks, Sachin, for that introduction. Yeah, so the most remarkable thing that I heard was someone being able to leverage LinkedIn for inbound way more than outbound, and that too at incredible scale, right? So let's dive into which workflow we are talking about, what is required in this workflow, and basically the nitty-gritties of everything. Now, Sachin is, I mean, this is the brainchild of Sachin, so we feel free to ask anything about any of these details. If you have any doubts, questions, feel free to raise your hands and ask Sachin. There's also the comment section. We'll keep monitoring the comment section, so put in your questions there, put in your doubts there. But let's start with what the problem is and how we kind of can tackle it. Right now, the biggest problem with LinkedIn, and I personally am also a creator on LinkedIn. I keep building audience on LinkedIn and try to understand what kind of content would really help them. But what has happened over recent times, and especially over the last few couple of months, maybe, is that noise is extremely high, right? Everyone is talking about the Claude codes, open clause of the world, let's say any kind of LLM based application, but there is little credibility to figure out what can be helpful and where we can stand out. The second problem is, of course, the algorithm suppression. I'm sure, like any of us creating content, or if you know about your founders creating content, you will know that the algorithm is suppressing content in ways that are good and bad. For like the biggest thing that we see out of it output wise is that our impressions are going down, the kind of engagements that we get are going down. It might be coming from the niches that we still focus on, but it is definitely a point of concern, right? And the third thing is outbound saturation. I mean, everyone has access to outbound automations on LinkedIn. We are typically getting LinkedIn to the point that it's becoming that same email platform where people are starting to avoid and completely ignore messages on LinkedIn. Right. So at this point, what can be really, really helpful? And this is just a preview of what Sachin's team has done. But yeah, I mean, this is the inbound led outbound on LinkedIn, but I wanted to get to the outcomes first. What did they achieve? Now, this is just the results from last 1 week. If you notice, all of these are 6 days ago, 1 week, 1 week. Guys also here, one of the teammates at One GTM Lab. Look at the number of comments, and there's no sign of likes here, but look at the number of comments he's been able to get. So starting from the least, which is 354, then it goes to 890, and Jay's post got 1724. This is just 1 week, and there's actually more posts that I haven't covered, which Sachin, I'll let you cover after this. But this just shows you that with these many people coming in, showing interest on a certain topic or on a certain problem that you've highlighted, tells you that, and I know that they've gotten more than 40 meetings from just these comments, and there's more to it actually. There are more intent parameters that you can capture after you've done the post and people have received some kind of a material that is genuinely helpful to them. So that is a brilliant funnel that Sachin and his team has built out. And Sachin, if you could also show how you've replicated it across with other companies as well. And I'll let you kind of take the next 5 to 10 minutes to show people the brilliant execution on how you've gotten so much attention and inbound.
Yeah, sure thing. So, I mean, two 2K to 3K is the average number of commands that we get these days, which is like good. Can you guys see my screen? Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yeah, Sachin, we can see your screen. Guys, also, let's keep this interactive just in case if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah. This is not like us talking. This is more like learning, right? So I'm also learning. It's more like we kind of tried something with me and my co-founder Mega, and we were able to tell the team on this. But you can see the impressions that we get in some of these posts, and this is completely inbound, right? Like with this post, like 2 months back, I was able to generate some 17, 18 calls on my calendar, and the connect rates of these calls is really good. This is my target audience. But then more than the exciting part here is is this post valuable? Right now, the target audience that I have is more around the founders, the GTM experts, and everything, right? So if you see this sheet here, I've just made it public. It's more about an introduction about me, AI product marketing, right? So I know that a PMM will ask some of these questions. This is going to be helpful. These are some of my internal notes, right? Which is like super helpful. When I was a PMM, I was kind of looking at some of these things. Can someone explain me this? I was like firefighting some of these stories. As a PMM, I really want to know what GTM engineering is. As a founder, I want to know what all automations are possible. So we just consolidated some of these. You can see the value in the sheet, right? So even if you don't know anything about GTM engineering, you can actually identify most of this. And at last, I've just consolidated all my lead magnets and put it up in the sheet. So once you give value, that's when you'll just start getting the response from people. So these are not only the lead magnet. And once I started, if I post and if something happens, I share my learning. Like the next post with this, I say that, okay, I was able to book like 17 calls or 23 calls. But then what did I do after that? I also connected this entire story to a outbound thing because LinkedIn flagged my account after this. LinkedIn thought that I'm doing some automation because once you get this kind of impressions and all, it's not possible to humanly reply. So my team helps a bit in terms of commenting, but then this entire structure also starts flagging you up, right? So I had to, I mean, humanly, I cannot reply to 3,000 people. So what we started for with this post, what we started doing is we started connecting. Say, suppose, I mean, this is an entire replicable part. Now we do it for clients. This is what we do it for some of the clients right now. So just showing a workflow. This is one of the Australian companies, Trichep Labs. We right now they post content on build in public, market education, proof points, and all that. Right. We try to capture the entire audience with who kind of views the profile, engages with the post, the lead magnet downloads. Now these are your audience. This is a warm audience that's present, so we kind of identify and capture some signals with tools like Trigify and other things. And then we enrich this entire thing in Clay. Move this, if we want to reach out to people, we use like Smart Lead or Instantly. And we do LinkedIn DMs with Harish, right? Now, because of, and this all was made because we had a problem that LinkedIn started flagging the account, right? And it's humanly not possible to reply to people. So we just tried emailing people that, hey, I was not able to reply to you on LinkedIn. Here's my email. Okay. And I can send you the lead magnet. That's when the entire idea came in and we started replicating the playbook. So you can see that once we try reaching out to people, we send them to some of the landing pages where people can go and try the product. And these are your warm leads, these are your SQLs, these are your landing page traffics and all that, right? So it's an entire repeatable playbook that we have made. Now, this is, I would say, is also a old playbook. From like couple of months, we started trying the entire agentic workflow as well. This is where tools like NREF comes in, where this entire part, right, where you can see the fragmented tools like Trigify, social signals, stamp building, enrichment, all these things can be layered up and done in agentic workflows like NREF. I was able to make like agentic flows where I can capture some of these comments and try identifying what's the demographic of my audience, who is talking about GTM, product marketing. So I could actually learn more about it. I can write content about it and move forward, right? So yeah, that's the entire thing. There's no playbook on this. I just share what I learn. And it's been like very, this is an internal tool that we created inside the company because we have a lot of product marketers and they didn't understand the tool stack, and lot of clients were asking, if you're going on the proposal calls, they would ask that what's going to be my GTM engineering tech stack thing, because there's like 15 tools we use. So this is something that I just created on Lovable for my team to talk to the client, or me to talk to the client, that hey, this is going to be the cost. And I just made it public. I just shared it with people that, okay, this is something that replaces time from my team. So this would be helpful. And that got response, right? So I got a couple of good comments from the founders. So that's how we've been able to use this entire structure. The team uses the same, like Jay is a GTM engineer. He kind of lives and breathes in like Cloud Code and other things. So whatever we use inside the company to make like a repeatable playbook inside, so he just shares the same thing, right? That's the structure. So just wanted to cover this. I don't want to bore you with like more of my playbooks and all that, but yeah, just wanted to share how we are doing this inside the company and how a simple problem that I was not able to DM people on LinkedIn, and I didn't wanted me or my co-founder's account and all these things to get banned and all these structure, created this entire idea of emailing people. And then we identified, can we actually do more, made a playbook of this inbound led outbound for clients. And now we are also trying to identify agentic solutions that can help us repeat this entire playbook.
Yeah, and so what I've done out of all this, since like this is by far what I saw from at least our own analytics on InRev, is that it's probably those kind of automations that keep running all the time to get these, and it has a very dense, outreach workflow, so that Sachin's able to capture such a huge audience. But yeah, from this I realized that we could actually, and I took permission from Sachin, of course, to kind of break this workflow down into its constituent parts and actually show you guys, right? What are the automations that go behind it? What are the different pillars of how you're tracking things? And so here's what it looks like. After this, I'll just move on to the workflows bit. This is to show all of you guys, what the pillars are. By the way, I'll also take a slight pause here. I don't see too many questions, so in case you're finding it a little difficult to follow, do let us know. I will go through any of these steps as well. But I was also able to convince Sachin to kind of take up maybe up to 5 different consulting 30-minute calls that he might be able to help you in terms of showing how he has implemented this for different kinds of industries. So here's a quick screenshot where you can book, just scan the QR code and you can book a time. You'll have to fill in a form first. We just have 5 slots with him that I could get from him, but I requested him so that at least our audience gets some idea of people who are interested in building this inbound engine, have some scope to kind of discuss their industry, the situations that they are in, and kind of get a sense of how they could replicate this workflow for themselves from Sachin, right? So this QR code will lead you to the form. I hope, Jay, if you could also feel free to kind of post this in our chat as well, so that people can kind of use it later to also scan and get this form filled. Yeah, let me get into the actual workflows, right? Now, systematically, there are 3 pillars on which Sachin's workflow works, and we will get to the content engine probably last, because there's also Megha here who also runs a part of this workflow from Sachin's team. They're both co-founders of One GTM Lab. So again, if you have any questions, the 2 most experienced players who have run this workflow are here. So feel free to ask questions in the chat. I already see some coming in. But the 3 main pillars is strategic engagement. That is to get people, engage with people whom you feel would be valuable for your network, and whom you feel that their engagement back on your posts would be, one, valuable to anything that you write, and their network then starts kind of becoming your reach, right? So this is the first thing, identifying people you need to engage with. Then there is a signal capture and qualification. This is the automated part where you kind of capture every single touch point of the content that you've created, and how do you bring it through a funnel and then kind of do the outbound on it. It's called inbound based outbound, right? So these are warm leads that you kind of put into your funnel and then kind of do outbound on it. Shows much better results than any kind of other cold outbound that you could do. And then, of course, the content engine. Now, here there is quite a bit of manual work, because you would ideally want to really think of something that would be of value to your audience. So, there are, like you saw in Sachin's post, there are handoffs, there are cheat sheets, there are, different kinds of things that he's learned over the years. So that's the part which we'll touch upon the least, or maybe you can ask questions to Sachin on how he comes up with this pretty frequently. And there's of course a lot of repurposing, etc., also in this. But we'll get to a little more technically onto how each of these workflows work. Right now, the strategic engagement happens in 4 different ways. And again, Sachin, your feel free to unmute yourself, come in here and comment on any of these things that I'm mentioning. But I'll go ahead with the 4 different buckets that I know Sachin's been running. There is one around the post window. So whenever giving out such a cheat sheet or a material, you would want to be very, very active on the 30 minutes before your post and 30 minutes after your post. Now, typically, how you do it, this can be completely automated. You might want to kind of you have certain, let's say, topics or certain topical frameworks in mind. So, for example, for me, that would be anything around automations in GTM, anything around, let's say, usage of a Clay, N10, etc. as well. But these 30 minutes, I typically want to appear on people's posts who have posted in the last 1 or 2 hours as a window. Because once you go beyond that 1 or 2 hours, you're not engaging people who are also active on LinkedIn at that point in time. Right. So this becomes extremely important because if they're active on LinkedIn at that point in time, this 1 hour window can really get you a lot of people to come to the posts. And as you know, it's called the golden hour of LinkedIn, where if that first 1 hour really clicks for you, then it becomes like accepted and becomes credible for the algorithm there. And then you kind of pick up from there exponentially. The second thing is you always want to be present where discussions about your competitors are happening. So this is not necessarily time bound, but at any point of time in the day, you want to know who is discussing about your competitors. Are there complaints? Are there certain kinds of let's say that's happening which you can capitalize on. So 4 days back, Clay changed their pricing. We try to capitalize on it as much as possible. I remember doing this analysis of gathering 204 posts where we went and commented on, and then sending out a post on which I literally did that analysis and showed people what they were talking about the Clay's pricing change. Right. So those kind of things make a lot of sense because then you're gathering information about your competitors, but you're also gathering audience, borrowing audience from people who are talking about your competitors. I will not touch upon the rest too very, very deeply, but yeah, of course, you want to also track the topics of your interest and the use cases. So wherever people are mentioning use cases, challenges that are relevant for you, it's important to track those, surface those. You don't have enough time to kind of go through LinkedIn to kind of get these kind of things. So that's where automations come in. And then there's a target watch list. So this could be either of influencers or let's say prospects that you want to target. So there is this brilliant system in which you can only DM them n number of times. Let's say over a 2 week window, you can probably outbound to them over 5 messages and let's say 10 emails in the background. But what happens with target watch list is that if you continuously engage with these prospects posts, you often tend to get a reply even 2 months later when you just by chance send over, let's say, something like an update. So this is extremely, extremely important as well to generate that inbound engine. Um, and from here, I just wanted to highlight one of the workflows which I copied from Sachin's playbook. So what I do is kind of, make sure that I'm there where my competitors are tagged. Here, I do a little bit of a manual plus semi-manual effort. Typically, the golden rule is to not do any kind of AI-based commenting. But when the volumes get really large, you can do a few short comments via AI. What that does is basically just increases your presence and awareness about your tool to a lot of different places. So I kind of remove personal achievements, promotions, generic mentions about those competitors. And then I do an AI-based evaluation of those posts' intent in the sense that if it's criticism, pain points, or any relevant use case that they're looking to solve through that competitor, then I will definitely get in manually and generally spend about 2 to 3 minutes on that post, try and understand the problem deeply, and then comment on that. But if it's typically something that does not fall in these buckets, I kind of auto comment. And I'll actually show you some of the workflows as well where you're commenting, and commenting has no limits on LinkedIn, by the way. You have limits on, let's say, connection requests, you have limits on the kind of DMs that you can send, but you can comment like even up to like 1,000 comments a day. So there is a branch that I now put out which kind of auto comments. I don't interfere in that comment at all, but these are very naive, generic comments that I am not too much worried about. Right? Increases my presence in different areas. So I'll take a quick pause here because that was one of the pillars. If there are any questions or Sachin, if you want to come in, bump in and add any thoughts here, um, feel free to step in.
No, no, this is good. I mean, we can wait for questions, but just one point I wanted to add is the competitive monitoring workflow has been super, super helpful for many of our clients as well. Because these days, see, what I tell people that you have to be ahead of the game, right? Like how the cloud cost escalations happen, that everyone have to be on AWS and all. This is the GTM stack escalation, right? So you have to be ahead of the game. If your competitor is spending $5,000, to spend $6,000 to be ahead. Otherwise, he's tracking your CEO's post. He's tracking the comments on that. By the time your CEO responds to a potential customer, suppose I'm a cybersecurity company, I have done a post as a CEO. Netflix CISO reaches out and comments that, hey, this is insightful. My competitor can actually identify that comment and reach out to Netflix CISO even before I could do it. Imagine that's
Correct.
my post, my inbound, my work, but it can be just taken away, right? So you have to have competitive monitoring workflow is one of the things, but we also have to do like actions and all. Everything has to be automated in terms of your sales team knowing certain things. LinkedIn is much, much bigger. It's not only the CEO's profile and you post and you just manage, right? It's an entire game in itself, not for I mean, we are small right now, but I'm just telling you, I'm seeing like 30 million companies at 30 million, 100 million. This is the game that's happening. So it's like much, much big in that sense. So competitive workflows like this, workflows are really very important. And once we take a look at the use cases, just take it as inspiration because the potential of platform like agentic automation platforms like nrev or any kind of platform in terms of workflow, I tell people that do something manually. What's your pain point? So if you're doing something manually and you can identify your pain point, you create your own workflow around this. You can maybe create a better workflow than us, me and Santa could think of, like competitive monitoring workflow. But that's like a problem that we have seen. Maybe you could see a problem that you take the post, go to competitive keyword monitoring, and then also reach out to the people. Maybe by the time people have identified things, you've changed some competitive pages on your website. All those things are also done. You're already ranking on AEO, many things, right? So these are just reference workflows that you should just take it as a base and then think about it. The entire movement that tools like AirOps and tools like Clay and all have been able to get it because GTM engineers were able to increase the potential of platforms here, right? That's why it's the community that has grown many of these things. When they were building the product, they didn't even knew what is the use case of the potential. I mean, the potential of the use cases
Right.
that's possible.
Absolutely. Sachin, I totally agree on that point. I mean, imagination is the only limit that we have right now. And at this point, let me just quickly show you actually how workflows are built. So this might look like a complicated workflow. This is nothing to do with competitive tracking. I just wanted to show you the experience of building workflows for yourself on NREV, of course. So this is a campaign which I was designing for an audience that I had no clue about. For the first time, we were venturing out into a non-technical domain and building out a campaign for staffing agencies in the US, how we can automate different GTM workflows for staffing agencies. And this, I mean, you don't even have to look at the right hand side. Let me kind of even shut this off as much as possible. Let me show you the left hand side. So this is where I come in with absolutely no clue of what to do. So I even mentioned that I don't know exactly which person would be responsible for GTM in such companies, but could you help me with finding them? I just mentioned that relevant people in hiring or staffing companies in US only. Right. This is, by the way, Claude embedded inside NREV, kind of building out these workflows. And there is no other external intervention here. So in the sense, what I do is I tell what I want to do. I give some sample emails of the kind of hyper personalization I've done for the other segments. So that kind of gives it an idea of what kind of personalization I like doing and my tone, etc. So once I've done that, let me quickly go on to how it kind of processes the entire plan. It gives me an overall structure, but this is just a plan, right? It will not only talk to you in terms of plan on building this out, but it'll actually go ahead and kind of execute each of these nodes. Let me show you certain parts of this, right? So based on certain changes, I keep having a conversation, and based on that, I approve certain plans. And when I get results, so here it brings me certain results. So for example, Apollo, Rocket Reach are all embedded, and that like this, there are 70 odd vendor types of data providers that are embedded. So from them, it kind of gets me all my, at least a sample of people who seem to be in the right list. It also does an AI classification of whether it's a strong fit or not, gives me all this, and then it says, let's broaden the reach and let's go ahead from here, right? So it kind of does certain types of research that will help me further, personalize. And then when it sees that, okay, now it's not getting certain, signals from these things, it'll auto correct itself and then kind of give you other options that you can keep to kind of move ahead. I just kind of keep prodding it to kind of go in the direction that I like it to go towards. And then it kind of gives me all that email ideas. It finally kind of just brings that entire campaign together and then finally composes my emails. It tells me what has worked, what hasn't worked. And then kind of if it wants me to kind of do, of course, there is, of course, some cases where you have to prod it to try again, etc. But it kind of goes in and then reiterates on the steps that it has taken. It'll keep telling you about what is happening, etc. Right. So that's the part of workflow building. But getting back to the workflows that we were talking about, let me move on to the second pillar. By the way, Jay, could you also just post in the link of NREV's app so that people, if they want to try out any of these workflows that you're seeing today, they can just go in and type those and try them out. So the next part is perhaps one of the most important parts, which can be completely automated, as Sachin was mentioning, where you want to make sure that the connection requests that you're getting for any of these posts, the profile views, the likes and comments, and the downloads for the material that you shared is captured all in one place. Then we have an ICP qualification, and then we do an automated outbound on not just LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is restrictive. So we use emails, as Sachin was again mentioning, or if we have the budgets, then also use LinkedIn as a retargeting, LinkedIn ads as a retargeting medium. Quickly stop for any questions, anything here. I've been kind of going ahead, talking about this for a while, but let me know if there's anything that you find needs a little bit of ramification, a little more deep dive. But yeah, all of these are, by the way, done manually. As Sachin was also mentioning, initially there were, all these things can be done automatically. And initially, Sachin's team used to do it manually to try and figure out how to get this engine really going at scale. But then once you've set these up manually, then there's little effort in kind of going ahead and getting this entire engine working. And finally, the content engine. Sachin, I'll let you talk about this a little bit. I know you've spoken about this already. I've probably deflated the numbers. The kind of comments now that I see on Sachin's post is much more. But if you want to talk about your thought process as to how you create content, how you repurpose them, how you go ahead and bring a certain rhythm to it of doing this so that you have that consistent number of meetings coming in through inbound.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the content engine, again, getting like ideas every day is super hard. That's the that's the major challenge everyone faces. Even, I mean, it's like two type of people who have like lot of ideas and don't post, and some people who do not have ideas. I've seen them being like very consistent as well. So how they've been able to do this is with the ideas in terms of references that they can see with other posts and other structure, right? So we kind of do all the research, all these things have been done like manually earlier, but right now we kind of understand, okay, what are people speaking about a topic on Reddit, what are people speaking about a topic on XYZ platform. We understand what really is thought leadership, what is the gap, and then we kind of identify that. Say, suppose if it is product marketing or GTM engineering, we kind of speak about, okay, what are the gaps? Is it like exactly the way we are doing? Because we could just see all the flows around the AI SDR stuff, right? Which is good, but do you understand with the AI SDR thing that you still have to upload the list, right? So if that step is wrong, what will you do with messaging? So we kind of highlight the real parts. That's where once the agentic automation gets us the topic and other structure, we kind of identify that, okay, here's the gap, and this is where the human in the loop comes in, and the thought leadership comes in. There, okay, here's the gap. If it is more like something that we can share it with people, we are doing it internally like Excel sheet or something. I mean, I that Excel sheet came out that day because people were giving some fancy Figma diagrams and all that was not valued. And I didn't have time to create Figma. So I was like, okay, let me just share this Excel sheet. If it is helpful for my team, maybe this will be helpful for people. And it just picked up. Like no one had shared an Excel sheet on LinkedIn. So it just picked up. Now everyone started sharing. So it's like giving the value, identifying the problem, giving the value at that time. And then the second thing is we identify that, okay, if it is not the Excel sheet or the lead magnet, can we actually make an infographic out of it and explain it to people, right? That kind of takes like an additional step of designing this entire flow and all. And then you could also talk about some of the thought leadership things from the tweet perspective, right? Like people do not have time, and there's like so much of AI things as we discussed in the problem. So how can you be more genuine? And all of us write with AI. Okay, there's no There's no there's like nothing wrong in accepting that we write with AI, but how can you bring that voice? Is it your real context that you feed in, right? And have you gone through those experiences? People can know that. I can actually know that many of the previous senior leaders that have learned things also write with AI, but I still read it because I know the context is coming from him, right? So it's going to be that part. So that's how we divide this entire daily things with the research, things we can add value, day in and day out problems that we see with either working in a job or clients or anything, and then divide this into bucket. After the bucket, we can actually say suppose it can be 4 buckets or 5 buckets. You can actually create the content from for those buckets and then identify what can be the type of the post. And these all things can be like automated with like agentic workflows and can be mixed and matched with human in the loop, right? That's how this entire posting thing becomes more consistent, more value driven, and all these structures follow.
By the way, Sachin, there are two questions from Ganesh and Sanjay. And these are very valid questions. Ganesh, I remember when, and even Sanjay asked the same thing. How does commenting, GTM, playbook, Claude, etc. exactly help, or asking for comment rather? So the point is, I remember when I spoke to Sachin for the first time, and he had shown me these results. I was pretty much mind blown that this is it's even possible to get like 1,000+ comments on a certain post, right? And the thing with this is that as I dove deeper into understanding how people are gathering leads from LinkedIn, I realized that this is a very, very common trend. What happens with comments is that it is a multiplier effect. Typically, comments is firstly valued at least like 3 to 4 times by LinkedIn more than your a typical reaction. The second thing that we notice is wherever there are more comments, people typically tend to save those posts as well. And saving a post actually amplifies the engagement many, many times. Whenever like you have an audience who saves it is actually a signal to LinkedIn saying that this post is really valuable to that person. And it kind of goes ahead and amplifies that reach to that kind of person at least. And thirdly, it kind of becomes a like an show of intent, right? For I'm saying this is kind of changing it from the audience perspective to our perspective. When we kind of get these people to comment a certain thing and then they get the post, and I think the most powerful intent that Sachin had also told me was the download of that material that you kind of posted, right? They're finding it valuable enough to download and save it for themselves. Then it becomes a huge intent parameter that the thing that you were sharing for free, that people anyway like to consume, in the sense that any resource that they find for free is something that they tend to kind of at least put in some attention on and find it, if they find it helpful, then it becomes a really good intent signal for you to kind of reach out. So initially, to be very honest, I used to find it also very cringy in the sense that, you know, continuously asking people to comment and share something that I might find trivial, but honestly can give value to others is like a brilliant mechanism. I think last week itself, Sachin showed me one of our competitors, Goji Berry's founder, who had done this over time and had created like a massive pipeline for themselves. So yeah, I mean, from a third person perspective, I honestly felt that this playbook was not for me. But then as more and more I saw the results of, what the playbook was able to get, I kind of bought into it. I think, Sachin, you remember the time when I was like completely refusing to kind of get into this playbook myself, although there was a lot of automation from Nrev itself involved.
Yeah, we cannot escape from this. This was my first impression. I told Mega as well when we tried something like this, but like I was like reframing. Like I didn't post for 2 weeks because of this entire thing that okay, I'm like, asking people to change things and like comment for something, and even people asked me in the comments, why can't you just make it public or something like that, right? But algorithm works like that. We cannot escape. LinkedIn loves threads. So and now it like save as well, right? There's an option of save that not many people know. One save is like 5 likes. So if in the first 45 minutes or 1 hour of your posting, if suppose people comment and people make threads inside that, then that's when the algorithm starts picking up some of your post and all, right? But yeah, we cannot escape like how Instagram has the save and the share. LinkedIn has comments. Likes is like used to be the thing. Right now it's all comments. And so LinkedIn is moving towards more of value driven content. It thinks that when there's more comments and save and all, it's more value driven content instead of AI content, right? So we have to go with
That's why
the
when we comment on others' posts and build a thread around it, a discussion around it, that also garners a lot of impression and kind of LinkedIn gives you that reputation based on that as well. Right. So I think the entire comment, I mean, the LinkedIn engagement game is more towards discussions, more towards people getting value out of things that are being shared on LinkedIn.
yeah, and most initially when we used to comment, I think most of Mega's comment also gets like more likes and impressions than our post itself. So that's again a commenting is again a game that, and many people are like getting like, there are people that I know who are just commenting like commenters. They don't like posting and all that, but they are like very good in terms of engagement and adding value comments and all, and they get traction. They move the followers, they have their product adoption, awareness increases, everything happens.
Yep. I remember looking at Jordan Crawford's yearly roundup of his LinkedIn profile, and he had commented almost 40,000 times throughout the year. That was his growth from, I think, 16,000 to 35,000 plus followers. But yeah, everyone's doing it. I mean, although it might not seem obvious, it's something that everyone's doing. But at this point, I'll just point out that it's like 2:50 almost. We are done with the major content of the webinar. It's completely up to questions. If anyone wants to unmute themselves, we can have a discussion for sure. Sachin's here for the next 5 minutes. We can ask him anything. Sanjay, Dhanesh, were we able to kind of change your mind, by the way? Kind of went ahead on a rant of my experience, but did that kind of strike anything for y'all? Not sure whether they're there on the call anymore. Yes. The recording will be available, so I'll send it over as an email. Okay, so there's one catch. Typically, emails get blocked because, I mean, we can't send it from our domain. There's a community in which all of us who have been a part of previous webinars are all a part of. Sachin's also going to be there. You can ask him questions later on as well. And there are all the guests and all the GTM operators who have joined previous webinars, all a part of this community. We talk about automations. We help each other out in these automations. So feel free to join it. It's a quick join. It's not much of a burden on you to kind of keep engaging there. But yeah, if you have any questions, you will find results and answers just in case. Sachin, there are a few questions if you want to take the questions out.
Yeah, I saw the recording question. Uh, how do you
Do it on behalf of your clients.
Yeah, so we have this entire service of like we kind of call it founder-led content. So where we write and manage the entire LinkedIn profiles of the CEOs, right? And once we connect this to the outbound story, like once you pick up the signals and connect to the outbound story, that's when this is inbound-led outbound. So entire inbound is a offering. Outbound is a offering. Now we are connected this entire inbound led outbound as a offering. So we do the end to end thing, like write LinkedIn post for you, comment, then we kind of pick up the signals, engage with your target ICPs, audience, and also reach out to them.
By the way, a very interesting question by Sanjay was any insights on how one can use LinkedIn as a demand generation channel for non-LinkedIn industries like manufacturing, industrial products, etc. I think on the yeah, I'll let you answer that, Sachin. I think you've done quite a bit of work on the non-tech industries as well.
Yeah, I was just speaking to a shipping container agency yesterday and like a company yesterday. And definitely, if suppose LinkedIn is not a channel, it can be TikTok, it can be Reddit, it can be Discord, it can be anything, right? So we just need to understand where your audience is being able to hang out. And trust me, LinkedIn is the game right now because most of the VPs and all these decision makers are still sitting. They might not like your post, but they are still seeing what you're posting and how you represent yourself in front of them. And once you reach out, you can we have seen responses from very less active accounts as we are doing it for pharma, we are doing it for healthcare, shipping agencies. We also have some. There is also a marble selling company. Like they sell like marbles. So that's not B2B. Like it's very different. Then ICPs of this man. So yeah, Sanjay. I mean, we can actually identify your ICPs where they're hanging out and all. That is completely on the channel we identify, right? So that's where the messaging, the channel market fit, message market fit, all these things are identified at the initial stage. Okay, pricing I've already answered. I think Manisha has a very specific question on NREVs.
Is the Endeavor platform available to non-business accounts if anyone wants to play around? Yeah, that is something that we typically don't allow. Manisha, that's primarily because we give a large amount of free credits for people to get real value out of the platform. If it's for individual use, typically that's a business decision that we took that will not be feasible for us. But yeah, if you have any kind of a business account, you can absolutely log in and find all those free credits for you to try the platform out. Can we get a all right, sure. Ranjani, we'll be happy to kind of explore your use cases. I'll connect with you, Ranjani, after the call on LinkedIn, maybe. Just drop in a note or just ping me. I'll be happy to kind of, talk about some of our use cases. And as we get, I mean, all these webinars topics are sourced from what we see happening on the platform. So that's something that is typically not in my control, but what people want to hear. But we'll be happy to help you out in case you have any use cases in mind. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. We've come to the end of the hour almost. So I'll have to let Sachin go for sure. He has a hard stop. So again, thank you all for joining in. This was a brilliant. I love the different questions that you all had. I will send over the complete recording in our community. I'm not sure how many I'll be able to send out over email because it does block our domain, sending it out to other email addresses. But yeah, just drop in a note on LinkedIn as well. I'll send you the recording there if that is required. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sachin, Megha, for
Yeah.
everyone for joining, and thank you everyone else also for coming in and showing your participation here.
No worries. Thank you so much, everyone. It was like super exciting. Thank you so much, Santo, for making this happen, this entire thing, right? I mean, no one is speaking about this, so we are identifying this and talking about it. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.